I always believed I was smart. Ever since I was a kid, I've always been a high achiever. Getting the top grades was easy for me. And, even when we moved up to secondary school, I was the highest in the group for everything. Science, maths, history, you name it. And I wasn't just good at these classes either. I was the best at them. I loved going to parents' evenings because teachers would go on and on about how smart and talented I was. They would say that I was certainly going to accomplish great things. Maybe I'd become a doctor or a lawyer. I was good at debating too. I'd won our local debate competition 3 years in a row, so maybe I could even become a politician. I carried these ambitious dreams with me, and several years later approached the end of school. Everyone was sending off university applications, and naturally, I applied to the top universities in the UK. About a month later, I received a response from my top choice, an unconditional offer. For those of you who don't know what that means, when a university gives you an unconditional offer, it means that you have a place no matter what. The university was so confident in my abilities that I didn't even need to get the grades. Exam season was a breeze. During free lessons, while everyone around me was studying and stressing out, I played games on my phone. I did well in my exams, not that I needed to, and school came to an end. After a pretty uneventful summer, I finally moved to Manchester to attend my first day of uni. I remember it so vividly. Everyone sat down and we were asked to do some introductory test questions. For the first time since I could remember, I had no idea what to do. Everyone else scribbled away as I stared blankly at this piece of paper. This is fine, I thought. These guys probably only know what to do because they spent the summer studying. What nerds. That evening, I came home and started studying harder than I ever had before, determined to reclaim my position as best in the class. But, as the weeks passed, I gradually realised that no matter how hard I worked, I could never keep up. I was always behind everyone else, and one morning, I just gave up. I stopped attending classes and must have spent about 2 weeks in bed. I couldn't even muster the energy to care. As I aimlessly browsed my phone from the comfort of my room, I kept coming across Facebook posts by my old classmates. Each one told a unique story. Some people had jobs, others were laughing with their new friends. But the one thing that was visible across each post, they all looked so happy. Why were they doing so much better than me now, when I had done so much better than them at school? I gradually became more and more bitter, until one uneventful afternoon, it hit me. I'd always seen being smart as synonymous with success, and in that regard, I suppose, I'd failed to realise that a person's worth is determined by more than just their intelligence. I started coming back to class, but my attitude had changed. My old classmates might not have had good grades, but they shone in their own ways through their compassion, their enthusiasm, and their creativity. I always believed I was smart, but it wasn't until this belief was challenged that I saw the bigger picture. I wasn't the genius that I'd grown up believing I was. Instead, it turned out that everyone around me was only of average intelligence. I'd only been smart by comparison. This made me wonder, though, how many people out there are just like me, thinking that they're geniuses, when really they've just been hanging around with people who ultimately weren't so smart. Honestly, part of me is glad to be in this position because it gives me something new to work towards. At my old school, I never had to work hard to be the best, but here, I feel challenged. In order to become the best, I need to study harder than I ever have before. This is a new experience for me, and while it might be a hard one, I welcome it. After all, as the saying goes, diamonds are made under pressure.
I am a megastar, but I feel empty. Hi, my name is Emily Grace. I have always loved to sing, and when I was 7, I won a national competition. I used to write my own songs whilst playing my guitar, and this led to me being scouted by a huge record company and agent. They were very focused on earning as much money as possible, and they told me that with their help, I could become a celebrity. They helped me release my own album and basically become what so many people dream of, a superstar. I have hundreds of fan pages online, tickets to my shows sell out in seconds, and I constantly get calls from top magazines asking if I can be their cover girl. But after a few years, when standing on stage in front of thousands of people, I couldn't help but feel lonely. Although there were crowds of people screaming my name, not one of them really knew anything about me. They shouted that they loved me while I sing, but after the concert they would go back to their lives and families, and I would go back to my empty apartment. I didn't really talk to my family anymore, and most of my friends were other celebrities. And to be honest, I don't think they'd be interested in me if I wasn't famous too. On the outside, I had it all. Amazing career, expensive apartment, a huge wardrobe of the latest fashionable clothes. But as I got more and more famous, I felt more and more down, like something was missing in my life. My days were an endless cycle of meeting my agents and managers who would tell me the latest thing I needed to do to become more popular or to attract this market, and so on. Then I would perform, day in, day out, whether I was happy or sad or exhausted. I felt like my life was spiraling out of my control, with endless days of being told what to sing or how to dress, and I felt like I was going nowhere and helping nobody. One day, I received a letter from a girl who said she was in a wheelchair. She had wanted to buy tickets to my concert, but had been told there weren't any available. When I asked my agent, he said that they had refused her ticket because they could fit 5 people standing in the space a wheelchair took up, so it was more profitable for us to say no. I was devastated. I couldn't believe that I had ended up in a heartless industry where I was just performing to make mindless money. I felt so ashamed that the girl had been turned away because of me and my agent trying to make money, when all she had wanted was to have an exciting evening. I knew that I had to fix this, for the little girl and for myself. I stopped working for my agent and his record company and decided to start singing for myself and my own enjoyment again. I started writing my own songs instead about what I was truly feeling. I held my own concert and invited my family, many of whom I hadn't spoken to in years. I also gave free tickets to the girl who had written to me, and in the letter I wrote, "Dear Alice, thank you for making me remember why I love performing and singing, for the difference it can make to my audience."
Hello guys, I'm Rob, and I want to share my story with you. I think it's quite different from what you're used to hearing, so listen carefully to all the details before making any judgment. It all started a few years ago on my 13th birthday. I went with my dad to an electronics store to choose my birthday presents. I wanted to get some video games because I didn't really care about anything else back then. My dad didn't mind because he's doing great financially, so he said he's willing to buy me 5 different ones for my birthday. I was happy, and 5 was more than enough for me, but somehow I found myself stealing a 6th one. Instead of asking my dad to buy it, I wasn't caught. This idea appealed to me, and it didn't feel like stealing or doing something bad. Days passed by, and whenever I liked something, anything, I won't hesitate for a moment to steal it and hide it somewhere, without drawing anyone's attention to me. I became better and better at it every day. It felt like I became invisible when I steal. No one could catch me, no one at all. I literally stole things from all the members of my extended family. I took the wedding ring of my late grandfather, which my grandmother really loved, and saved in her valuable jewellery box for many years after my grandfather died. She got so nervous and mad when she couldn't find it. She asked everyone to help her find it. I remained silent. I said nothing. She cried for days and days. I felt bad for her, but I didn't feel bad about taking the ring. It was such a strange feeling. Don't worry,
I returned it later. Just because it didn't fit my finger size, and oh well, it's very old-fashioned. Later, my family started to notice that something is off. My aunt claimed it's a ghost, and she spread the idea to everyone that we are haunted, and we need to move out of our houses and seek some help, etc. That was so funny. I mean, how could anyone believe that? But she managed to scare everyone. All this felt like a game to me. An interesting and entertaining game. I watched them all, doubting themselves and everyone around them. Except for me. I was always the calm, innocent boy in the family who only minds his own business, so no one suspected me. They knew I'd never steal, especially that I can buy everything I need and want. It just didn't make sense to anyone. And to tell you the truth, it didn't even make sense to me. On my 16th birthday, I started to realise that this game is not amusing anymore. I caused trouble to many people around me, and I should tell the truth and stop doing this. I tried several times, but failed. I couldn't understand why. I gathered all my courage and talked to my parents. That moment, everything started to bounce back to the right track. My father returned all the valuables I stole, and I attended many sessions at a psychological centre, and I have finally completely recovered now. Studies say that there's no cure for kleptomania, but psychotherapy may help to end the cycle of compulsive stealing. It worked in my case.
Hello, I am Jane, and here's my story. Like everyone else, I look at myself in the mirror several times a day. I mean, we all like to check how we look before we go out, right? However, I'm not going to talk about my physical appearance or my outfits. So let's switch the focus to insecurities. I believe we all have insecurities and some traits we wish we could change about ourselves, right? This whole nagging issue started years ago, when all of a sudden, I felt like I was completely worthless. Honestly, it wasn't all of a sudden, but I screwed up a lot. Do you know what's even worse than feeling worthless? It's blaming yourself for everything wrong in your life and in the lives of people around you. First, I wasn't a good student in school. It's true I didn't get Fs, but all my grades were Cs and Ds. When you're not doing well in school, at least you do well in other spheres, right? That didn't happen in my case. I was such a shy kid and socially awkward. I never initiated a conversation with anyone, and whenever I made a comment, everyone ignored me. That's why I decided to remain silent all the time. Oh, and let's not talk about my relationship with my siblings or relatives. My parents are great, but I always felt that they preferred my older siblings over me. I can understand them. My two older brothers are very accomplished and social. They have many friends and are praised by everyone in our neighborhood. The fact that I come from a small town perhaps adds to the severity of the issue in my eyes. People called me Jane Shane, and I never understood why. Maybe Shane comes from shy and rhymes with Jane. I don't know. But whoever made this name up is not funny, and I hope he or she is listening to my story now. Anyway, the failures in my life didn't cease. They even became my reality and the definition of Jane. Therefore, I hated to look in the mirror, because whenever I did, I started to make up scenarios in my head of what other people thought about me. That killed me. I hated the way I looked and thought and behaved. I wanted to be smarter and more popular. Little did I know then, accomplishments don't come your way. You need to run their way and fight to achieve them. The next step came after I watched a motivational video on YouTube, which shed the light on problems and insecurities like mine. I figured out then that I am not alone in this. I still remember that rainy day in late December when I looked at myself in the mirror and said, "Jane, you are worthy of love and respect." My life changed after that moment. I worked very hard to earn the life I wished I'd had. I worked hard to become who I am today, and that worked perfectly. I work in a huge company now, and I am happily newly married. My message is simple. Everyone feels weak and worthless at times, but if you do something about it, you can move any mountain and overcome any obstacle.